Hey everybody, welcome to session 19. 19 out of 22. We're almost done with the joy of coding here for the winter. And I gotta admit, tonight it's not feeling so much like winter. It's still light out because we changed our clocks. I'm sure everybody is like dragging or drooping or whatever. So I had some caffeine to keep me going tonight. And perfectly all right. We got a lot of people attending remotely, although not too many. Okay, this is some important stuff tonight. I hope people are watching the recording. Because tonight we are going to look at some more stuff that we can do to build an Android app. We saw a bunch of stuff last time or last week, and now it's time to just learn a couple more things that I think will give you, I don't know, a lot of stuff, a lot of tools that you need for your Project 6, your Android project. Let's see here. Also going to talk about the final exam tonight. Talk about Wednesday. We started having an open day, and I wanted to get some ideas of what we could do. And then that's it. We're getting on towards the end. A week from tonight is the final exam, and a week from Wednesday, all the coursework's due, so that I've got enough. Actually, the graders and I have enough time to grade everything before the term ends. So let's start off with questions. Let's start off with questions about the projects. Things are pretty quiet this weekend. I don't know whether to take that as like, hey, you're all catching up on other things, or like you're doing Android and having no problems, or it's like you're out enjoying the not so bad weather. I hope it's one of those things. Okay. What can I tell you about Project 6 and Android development? Is there anything that's puzzling you? Anything that is blocking you? Anybody not able to get off the ground with the project?
The biggest problem that I ran into was the problem with the dependencies that I mentioned
Yep.
in the Slack channel. Otherwise, it's just getting used to how different working with Android is, such as, sorry, I just ran home to make sure I got on time.
I
Um,
appreciate the effort.
yeah. Um, but doing instances and activities to make sure that, such as like buttons do what I want it to do, it's been very different, and I'm still getting it off the ground with working with the established code from Project 5.
Okay. Nice. By getting off the ground, are sort of things not compiling for you, or things not building, or is it just a matter of how to put the pieces from the old stuff together?
At this point, it is more so just getting the puzzle pieces fitting, not even fitting together, but just getting them to the right place and making sure that I'm actually completely understanding how this is going to be put together. I started a Figma board to with wireframes to try and like work out what I want it to look like, and I'm just trying to now work on the back end. Because I'm just a visual person.
Yep. No, that's good. I like drawing pictures too. It just helps me out understand, and the abstraction usually helps me. Sweet. Thanks for sharing your experiences, Teresa. I appreciate that. Anything else on Project 6? Okay. So let's talk about the final exam. Okay, so the final exam, once again, is a week from tonight on Monday, March 17th. Uh, oops. The final exam is on Monday, the 17th. The final exam is in two parts. The final exam is during class time. I expect it'll take, well, probably like the full hour and 50 minutes. So the first part, the thing that starts right away, is the individual portion of the final exam. It's like two quizzes put together, right? So it's I think it's six short answer questions. It'll be administered via Canvas so that it's easy for everybody to get to. The final, the individual portion of the final is open book, open notes. which means you can use any resource linked on my website. However, you're not allowed to use any other internet resource, right? You can't ask the Chat GPT, can't send text messages to your friend to get answers clearly, but any resource linked to from here, including the YouTube, which I don't know how useful that would be, and certainly the PDFs, feel free to look up in real time. The best way to study, um, okay, I'll get to. I'll come back to the best way of studying in a minute. So the first part is an individual part. I think that's like 45 minutes, and then I'll have some parting words because we won't be getting together on the 19th. We're done on the 17th. I'll say some parting words, and then we'll go into the group portion. The group portion isn't coding. You've done enough coding with other people. You're done with that. Instead, it's a group activity where you'll be thinking about what I hope is an interesting problem, applying some critical thinking, and working with others. So it's more about collaboration and just thinking about some interesting, what I hope is an interesting topic. The entirety of the final exam, so the individual and the group portion, is worth 12 points out of your final grade. So as you're thinking about where you focus here in the last couple weeks of the course, please keep that in mind. So your project, your Android project is worth more than that. And so then if you got to choose between working on the Android project and studying for the final exam, take that into consideration. The best way to prepare for the final exam is to just familiarize yourself again with the PDFs. Any topic that has been covered in this course is fair game. I'd like to think there isn't anything terribly tricky on the final exam, but there might be some questions that make you think, and the answer that comes to you immediately may not be the correct one. Other than that, what else can I tell you about the final exam? What else would you like to know? I know a couple people had questions coming in.
Will the final exam start at our regular class time on Monday, so 6:40?
No, I'm sorry. It's Monday. Let's do 6 p.m. Does that work for everybody?
I just want to clarify because our usual
Yeah.
start time is 6:40, so
Because
I want
it's
to
St.
know.
Patrick's Day. The bars don't stay open that late. So
Okay.
I don't know.
And then I see that there's a quiz 6 also due on Wednesday of next week. Is that
Yeah,
like something to keep an eye on?
It's the Android quiz. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, figure have that due after you've done your Android project. Yep, and the end of the term survey, which is worth quiz grade.
Is everything on this class going to cover everything we need for the quiz for next Wednesday?
Sorry, what do you mean by this class?
So, like, is this sort of the last cutoff, or is everything from this course session to Monday, and then Monday's sort of like the last sort of thing that we're going to focus on before we shift into sort of like the final exam prep, or are we not really?
Yeah, I don't have any more. Let's get back to that, but I will say that I don't have any more Android stuff that I'm going to show you. Hopefully, I think everything I plan to cover tonight anyway ought to prepare you for the fundamental stuff for your project. There might be some more research. Actually, there probably is some more research that you're required to do on your own, some experimentation, probably to figure out certain things. But I'm hoping to give you all the pieces, parts that you need tonight.
Excellent, thank you.
Let's see here. A couple questions. Oh, and it's in person only. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, the final exam, unless you have an accommodation otherwise, is in person. So even though it's on, bring your laptop so that you can do it on Canvas. If that's a problem for anybody, please let me know. We can arrange an alternative. But yes, the final exam is in person. Please, I'd like to see you all one last time. And hey, you get Wednesday off, so you're still nursing your hangover from St. Patrick's Day. Please don't. And yes, the exam is open notes. Again, any resource that's linked to from this page, or I don't know. I mean, if you want to show up with a whole bunch of Java textbooks, if you think that will help, I guess. Really, it's the common sense is like, hey, I don't expect you to memorize everything, but you can't just again use ChatGPT to answer all the questions. But I'd be curious what it thinks the answers to the questions are. Yes, don't drink in Java, indeed.
Will the testing center know that the exam is supposed to be open notes? I've never had a open notes exam with them before, so I'm just not sure what to expect.
That's a very good question. I don't know either. I know we've been in communication with them. Um,
I suspect it will have to be explicitly stated to them.
yes, and so then if you could pick up that conversation again, and then I can confirm with them that yes, I'll explain to them the conditions of what open book, open notes is, and if they can't accommodate that, then you and I can figure something out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Study for the 5 days. Are we studying anything more conceptually? Are we looking at syntax and there are, let's see here, there's like one question related to the language, and then there's some concepts that we've learned and some things about tools. So, I'm trying to think. It's probably, oh, okay. Sorry, don't quote me on this. I want to say I would say that 3 out of the 6 questions are more sort of conceptual, explain what this thing means or is or does. And then one question is sort of language centric, and then the other ones are more like, hey, here's how you do something with one of the topics that we learned about. That's vague. And honestly, the bottom line is like, if you don't know it by now, guys. So either, and here's the thing, it's only worth, so much of your grade. So yeah, sure, if you get a 0, it would, it would impact your grade. But again, I would hope by now, well, or rather, I would expect that your final exam grade would be consistent with what you've done in your projects. And this is on purpose, by the way. I've never been a big fan of having final exams that determine whether or not you pass the course, because I think it incentivizes people to cram everything at the last minute. And as you've all figured out, you can't do that in this course. I've been every week there's something that you got to do and build your grade over time. So. Oh, so the question is it half and half for the in-person in the group? No, it's 8 out of 12 for the individual and 4 out of 12 for the group. It's okay. If you have to cram, you have to cram. Just saying, it's as you probably all figured out, it's not ideal in this course. Nice. Okay. Anything else for Prime Minister's questions? Anything else I can tell you before we dive into some Android? Actually, you know what? Sorry, I want to talk about because I'm sure get lost in the coding and lose track of time. I want to talk about Wednesday's class. So I have a student who is doing an independent study, and as part of that, he's going to report out. So I think it's going to be, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes of a class on Wednesday. But I don't have anything else planned. I can't prepare an entire lecture, although I can probably just, make up stuff off the top of my head or do some research together. But what would you like to do? We could review the course materials. I don't know how interesting that would be. I'm really curious about what GitHub Copilot can do for the course. Also happy to just do an Ask Me Anything. I remember on the first day, some people were like, hey, I want job search advice. I'm happy to just answer anything you want for a little while. If you bring donuts, can I get a +10 on the final? Yeah, back when I was a little younger and wasn't so conscious of my health, I might have taken the up on that offer. But yeah. Yeah, Greg?
The audio kind of dropped there. You said something about a student and then it kind of dropped. I apologize.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, just for next week. Sorry, not for Wednesday. For Wednesday, I don't have anything prepared. We're going to have a guest presenter who did an independent study with me to show off some cool stuff that he did, and then otherwise I'll let you all drive the conversation.
Cool.
So
Sorry.
if there's
Thank
any
you.
topics you'd like me to cover, the farther I know in advance, the better job I'll do. But I'm not gonna I don't have time to prepare a whole teach us about some new topic or whatever. Unless I go back into the archives and dust off something from 2004 or whatever. Neo4j, great. Okay, I don't know anything about Neo4j. Nice. Okay, well, we'll do something on Wednesday. That'll be fun. Right. Let's talk about some Android. So, last time we broke ground on our Android project, and let me just hide all of the windows that are up in my face. Actually, I need to figure out the keyboard shortcut. It's Control-Shift-H. Oops. Control everything H. Oh, I didn't have control. There we go. No shift apparently. We started working on an Android application, and so as you recall, and I'm sure many of you experienced, Android Studio integrates all of the aspects of developing an Android application, everything from running an emulator, a device emulator, in this case a Pixel 5 phone, to allowing you to deploy an application on that phone and run it while it's under development. And of course, this allows you to test your application on a real device, see how it interacts, see how it renders, to see how it works, and then we saw you can get into this iterative development cycle where you put together your application, make changes to it, and you can then get rapid feedback on the quality of those changes here in the emulator. And I cannot read that, so I'm going to make it big. There we go. And here was the application that we developed. It has a simple main screen, and it has a button called Launch Calculator. And this opens another activity, which is the calculator activity, in which you can calculate the sum of two numbers. So 6 plus 7, and you click the equals button, and it prints the sum. And we saw how we could navigate back to main here. And so here we saw sort of the fundamental things that you do when building an Android application, really almost any graphical user interface application. You create some widgets and lay them out on the screen, whatever the screen is. And then you handle events. You handle user interaction with the application. And this is fundamentally different from when you write your command line program. Right? Command line programs start with the first line of code. They go through. Sure, they branch based on inputs and internal state and logic and everything like that. But then ultimately the main method returns and finishes. For Android applications, it's much more like your servlet, in which you have a program running and then it responds to some input, some asynchronous stimulus, for lack of a better word. Like, in the case of your servlet, a URL was requested. Okay, then it would then the code is your doGet method is invoked. It does its thing and then returns. It doesn't know, the servlet doesn't know when it's going to get invoked again. Same thing with the logic that underlies your Android application. The application sits there waiting for the user to interact with it somehow, such as clicking the launch button, entering input, all that good stuff. And so then, when I first encountered this, it really did seem like a different kind of programming, but one that I sort of understood. Hey, here's how you work in an asynchronous world when you don't know. When your input's coming at you, it's not you're just reading it from a file or something at your own pace. You really are dependent on the user to interact with it. And so then, as a result, what you do is respond to events that represent, and the events represent the user interaction. So that's where we're starting from tonight. And what I'd like to do now is just evolve this application a little bit more to show you more features of how you can for more features about Android. Now, we have this calculator screen where we can compute the sum, but there's not much we can do with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is make it so that when what I want to do is take the sum that's computed on this screen, this activity, and send it back to the main activity. This is a very common thing that you do, right? You launch an activity to, well, have some particular interaction with the user, and the user performs that interaction, usually generates some result, and then you want to send that result back to the another activity, the activity that launched it. So what I want to do is what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, when I click back to main, I want to send that value 12 back, and then just have the main activity receive the value that was returned. And then let's put it in a toast just to make sure, just to demonstrate that we're able to get that. Now the way I do that is by doing the following. In the let's see here, in the back to main method. Now remember, the back to main method is called when you click the back to main button. So here, in addition to just finishing, actually before I finish, I want to get the sum and I want to send it back to the caller, to the main activity. So I'm going to do that as follows. The first thing I need to do is I need to save the value of the sum so that it's available to this method here. Now, the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to replace, let's see here, the sum value. I'm going to store this in a field. I'm just going to call it sum equals sum value. And so I'm going to create that field in the calculator activity. And you can do this because it's a Java object, right? So this is the activity is a Java object. It can have fields. I'm going to call it sum. That's going to be the int. And so like when I click compute sum, after it goes through and does all the checking and stuff, it'll store the sum value off in the sum field, and then it will set the value. Actually, I could even do that after this, but this is a fine place to do it. And now here in my back to main, I want to return the sum field, the value of the sum field, back to the back to the activity that called the calculator app. And I can do this by using one of those intent objects. So we saw an intent before in the main activity. When we went and we launched the calculator, we used an intent to say, hey, listen, Android, display the calculator activity. You can also use an intent to pass data between activities. And so you do that as the following. You make a new intent object, and you're going to, oops, make a new intent. And the intent, as you saw, there are all three different constructors there. Not so easy to see there. Here, there's nothing special that we're using. There's no like action we're performing or class that we are using. Oh, sorry, a chat came in. Oh yeah, log cat. Yeah, good thing. Oops. Can I hide it from here? How do I hide this thing? Do I go hide? There we go. You can make a new intent. And then intents we didn't really look at this last time. It has these things called extra fields. So let's see here, extra. So the whole idea is they can stuff some metadata into an intent. And here we're going to stuff the value of sum. So we are going to say, I think it's called put extra, yep. And here, we want the one where it takes, and there's a name of the metadata. So we'll just call that sum value here, and then we'll have the value of this dot sum. We're going to create a constant in this class, in the activity for sum value. And this is just going to be a name that is going to be used to look up the value that we put into the intent. Okay, so we create this intent here, and we're going to associate this intent with sort of what was called the result of this activity. And so we're going to do that by saying set result. As you can see, there are two, it's overloaded to have just a result code, and we'll see a constant for that shortly, and also the intent. So we can say result OK, which is, I don't know, it's a constant inherited from someplace. And then we're going to set the intent. We're going to add the intent there. So here again, this is a method that we're invoking on the this object, which is the activity. So we're basically saying, hey, the result of this activity is represented here in the intent. And then we're going to finish the activity. Right, so this didn't change. This is still going to go back, and it's going to go back to the. It's going to finish this activity, which will then reactivate the activity that spawned it. Okay, so this is what we need to do here. Now, well, I don't know. I'm not going to show you, I guess, because it's not terribly interesting. If I go and rebuild this now, clicking back to main, we won't see anything because we're not doing anything with this result. So we need to change the main activity to to take the result of the calculator and to do something with it, to display it in a toast. And the way that we do that is by overriding. Well, actually, no, sorry. We say a couple of things. When we start the activity, we don't just say start activity anymore. We say start activity with result. For result. And here it is. We need to have something called a request code. So this is just, and these are deprecated methods. There are probably better ways to do this. But this to me sort of makes sense, and it's a good demonstration of how to use intents of activities and stuff like that. So we want to make up a request code, something like, get the sum for our calculator. And so we'll just create a constant here, and we'll give it some number, like 42. And so we'll start the activity for the result. And so this basically tells Android, hey, when I'm starting this activity, it's going to actually return a result, and sort of the code for that result is get sum. And we use that information in a method called onActivityResult that you then override to. Oops, how do you override in this thing? Let's see here. Oh, I think Control O. Is that what it is? Yeah. Override here to say onActivityResult. And this is a method that is invoked when the activity is restarted or is woken up as a result of, or rather in response to having a result available. And so it passes in a couple of things: request code, the result code, and then an intent that was passed here. So let's see here. It's important that you retain this call to super.onActivityResult because that does some bookkeeping that is inherited from its superclass. And then there could be lots of activity results. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the result that is passed here is the thing that we expect and know how to deal with. So we want to say, hey, if the request code equals get sum, then, hey, if the result code equals result OK, so hey, we got it was the request that we expected, it was a happy result. Oh yeah, and if the data that was passed in, this is the intent, oops, assignment, that was, this was the intent that we set the result of back here in the calculator. If the result is null, great. Now we finally have, or rather we have the result that we expected. It's a good one. We'll just get the sum. And then we'll get this from, data dot get int extra. Yep. And then the name is going to be the name that we chose over here. In calculator activity, it's going to be sum value. Oops. And we'll just say calculator activity dot sum value. Oh, how come, is it private? Yeah, that's why. We'll just make it package visible. Sum value, and I think it requires a default value, so let's say 0. And now we'll make a toast. Yep, and so sum was sum, and we'll make it a long toast. And we'll show it. But what is it saying here? Is it deprecate or something? Oh, it says that, oh yeah, right, if data doesn't equal null. That would be important. Thank you, Android Studio, for letting me know I had a bug there. So this is what you need to do. You need to handle the result of the activity that you launched, thusly make sure that it was for the request that you expected, and that the calculator activity said that it was okay. And if it was, make sure that the data that you expect to pass back, get the int value that was there, and then make a toast. So let's redeploy our application and see how it works. Again, what we're demonstrating here is how to pass information between two activities. Okay, now when I launch the calculator, we'll get the screen and we'll say 4 plus 5 equals 9. Now when I click back to main, it pops up a toast saying sum was 9. So this demonstrates that we were able to store the sum into the field in the calculator activity, put it inside an intent, and have that intent be the return value, the result value of the calculator activity, and then have our main activity get that get that sum value out of the intent, and then put it in a toast. Okay, I'm going to commit that. While I'm doing that, any observations, questions, comments people want to share? And note that here, I didn't change any, I only changed Java code, right? Because all I'm doing is working in logic here. I'm not working, I didn't add any new widgets. I didn't have to, go into the, into the XML configuration for the activities or anything like that. This is all, Java code behind the scenes. Okay, so no questions or anything? Okay, now let's see something else. So I'm passing this data back, and I want to on the main screen it's a little boring, and that toast is only there temporarily. What I'd like to have is a list of all of the sums that I've computed over time. So I want to maintain that list, and so each time I launch the calculator, it'll compute a sum. When I go back to main, I want to keep track of all the lists. Oh, sorry, of all the sums that have been there before. And if you go and watch the Android lectures, and please do, because it'll give you a good idea of all the different kinds of widgets out there. There is a widget called a list view that allows you to, that renders a list of objects. As we'll see here, the objects themselves are just sort of stored in this array list there, and then everything gets visualized in the list view. And I like it. Overall, it's pretty easy to use, and it does what I'm looking for. So the first thing I need to do is I need to add a new widget. I'm going to add a new widget to the main activity here. So I got to close all these windows. So I've got enough screen real estate. There we go. And here I want, let's just put one in here. Let's make ourselves a list view. Here's a list view. I'm going to put it right here. Cool. And now I'm going to change the constraints so that it's, I'll play this game again. Actually, if I just do this instead, maybe I can. And then same thing here. Actually, let's do this. Let's see here. Nah, it doesn't like something about the list view, of course. And yeah, right, you can watch me like struggle with this just like you did last week. Here. Okay, so we're going to call this list, we're going to call it sums here. So we're just going to, I'm going to change this to sums. And, oh, I probably want to just rename that. I'll rename this to sums. So this is a list view that will contain all of the sums. Yeah, it's kind of a nice preview to it. I like that. Let's see here. The top, let's see, constrain the top of that to the bottom of the button. I like that. And now I also want to constrain the bottom. Yeah, the constrain bottom to the bottom of parent, constrain, I'll probably change it here. Constrain, let's see here. App, come on, app, where's my A button? There we go. App dot bottom. Constrain bottom to, let's see here, bottom of this, the top of, what's the hello text? Oh, it doesn't have one. It doesn't have an ID. Oh, how interesting. Android ID equals hello. Nice. And to the top of ID hello. Nice. I don't want a plus there. I don't know why I put it there. Okay, now what is it complaining about? It's complaining about how views are constrained horizontally. We'll jump to the left. Yes, let's constrain the left and right, like we do with the button. And then, yeah, to the end of the parent. And to the start of the parent. So start and end are left and right, and then top and bottom are all top and bottom. There. Okay, this is looking pretty good, all things considered. Let's just launch it and see what it looks like for real. And you know, as you can tell, the thing that like I struggle with the most isn't the Java coding. It's like getting everything to look good. And so then if it takes you a while to sort of figure out the finer points of laying things out in Android, don't worry. It's difficult for many of us. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's empty right now, so you really can't see anything, but it doesn't look terribly ugly. Okay. Now, let's see here. Now let's go back to the calculator activity. And here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, when I create the calculator activity, I'm going to populate the, I'm going to populate that, that list view. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I want to have, eventually I want to have all of my, oops, this isn't the calculator activity, I do this in the main, sorry. Back in the main activity, because that widget is on the main. When I create it, yep, I do all that cool stuff. But now what I want to do is I want to associate what's called a model with a list view. So the model is the data that the list view displays. And so it's so there are these things called array adapters. So I'm going to have a field which is private, and I'll make it final, and it'll be something called an array adapter of integers. Yep. I'm going to call it sum. So this is going to be, let's see here. I can just make this a new array adapter, right? Yeah. Oh, it doesn't like. Oh yeah, you know what? No, I can't initialize it here, can I? Can't be final. I need to have some other stuff there, which is fine. So I'm going to have those sums here in the main activity, and so then yeah, and so here I'm going to first of all I want to initialize it, and a new array adapter. An array adapter has some has a bunch of constructors that do some interesting things. And here is I guess I just need to tell you what the answer is because it's kind of complex to explain. I talk about it more in the lectures. So the context of the array adapter is going to be this activity, right? That's sort of its parent. That's where it's going to run. It might need to get information from its parent. And then it needs something called, it needs a resource constant, a layout resource. And this is, and I explained this in the lecture, this is sort of like a prototypical UI widget that it uses to populate each row. The one that I always use is the, is this, oh, I'm sorry, no, it's not that one. It's android.r. Oops, where'd it go? So there's a resource constant called android.r. And so these are resources that are global to like everybody in Android. And we want this to be, let's see, we want to use the layout object. And from that, there's a thing called a simple list item. Simple list item, and let's use number 1. Here again, this is a prototype UI object that works well here in the list, and the whole idea is that this is what the array, what the list view will ultimately use to display things in. And then you need a backing object for this, and so you can just put in a new array list. And this is a Java util array list right here. Okay, so this is an array adapter, and the whole idea is that what the adapter does is that when when we add stuff to this array adapter, it'll automatically update whatever list view is associated with, and that will be the following. So now we're going to get the Java object that backs the list view widget, right? So what do we do over here? We added a list view widget, and just the same way that we get the launch calculator button here in main activity. Well, actually, I guess we don't do that. What do we do? Oh, I guess in the calculator activity, we use this find view by ID to get the edit text and to get the text view here. This is the Java object that represents, that underlies those widgets. We do the same thing for the list view. So I'm just going to call this list view, and we're going to say find by ID, and we're going to say r.id.sums. And what that does is that it'll ultimately get the object that's here in the has the ID of sums that is here in the UI, right? This is that bridge between the UI code, if you will, the XML, and then the Java code that works with the widgets. So we're going to get that list view, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set the adapter to be this.sums. So sums is an adapter. And now, just for the sake of demonstration, let's just say for in I equals 1, while I is less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. And then we're going to say this.sums.add I. So this will go through and populate that list view with the numbers 1 through 10. So these are Java objects, right? And so the whole idea here is that you can interact with Java objects, and then because of what you've done, with the Java objects is reflected in the UI. So let me go back here. Oh, and there it is. The calculator launched, and now it has the numbers 1 through 10. And you can click to drag to scroll. Okay, well, that's the numbers 1 through 10. That's not terribly interesting. Instead, what I want to do is I want to populate it with the sum that is returned here. So instead of making this toast, instead of making the toast, I'm going to say this dot sums dot add sum. Right, this is that data that's passed back from the other activity. So now, when I relaunch it, launch the calculator, I'm going to have it do 5 plus 6 equals 11. Back to main. 11 is now populated my list. When I have 8 plus 9 is 17. Back to main. Now 17 is in my list, right? Okay, so now we combine the two things that we've done tonight. We have now taken the sum that is returned back from the calculator activity and put it into this new list view that we've added to the UI. I'm going to commit that code, and I'll take some questions. Jeez. Like I said, I didn't change it. Okay. Doing good on time. Yeah.
So is this like Java way is in the back? Is this basically a binding, or is this
Yeah.
still different?
Yeah, you can think of it as a binding. You know, it's not as it's a little bit more. I wouldn't say loose. It has, you know, unlike maybe bindings in like anything like JavaScript frameworks, if you've worked with it, have
Well, I
bindings.
have my C#
Fair enough.
not that
Yeah.
right now. So just
Right,
thinking
yeah,
that, like, as soon as making these things that as soon as the value changes,
Oh yeah, definitely. So yes, again, the array adapter, the relationship between the array adapter and the list view are such that when the array adapter changes, it essentially, you know, sends an event to the list view saying, "Oh, you got some new data to display," you know, and then it'll go through and do its thing, right? And that's how you have a responsive UI, and that's why, you know, luckily because it's sort of taken care of for you, all the programmer needs to do, all the author of the app needs to do is add something to the array adapter, and then it automatically displays. Yeah. That's a good question. Okay. So for my next trick, what I want to do is I want to persist the sums here into a file, so that when I nuke, or when I end the application and relaunch it, right now it doesn't save any of the sum values, and I want to save that. So when I launch it again, I want it to display. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the following. When I get a new result, I'm going to add it to sums, and I'm going to say write sums to file. Now, there is an API. API. The activity Well, okay, so actually, let me, oh, I lost it. Now, where was it? Somewhere over here. It's under running devices? I don't know. Crap. So there's a file system on, on the phone, right? And remember, Android is built on top of Linux. It's a real operating system. It's got things like, a file system, it has users, all that good stuff. And there is a device or file system browser. What is it called? File system browser. No, device. Should I make a note of it here? I didn't. Device Explorer, is that it? Yes, Device Explorer. Awesome. What I can do here is I can look at the file system. And let's see here, I can't search it, but it's in, well, let's see if I can find it real quick. Well, actually, there might not be anything here. So here's what we're going to do. There is, so the activity has a method called getDataDir, which returns a file that is the data for this application, right? And so you can store data on the file system. And it returns as a Java IO file, right? That class that you've been using since Project 2. The whole intent here is that this is super familiar. So what are we going to do? Well, we are going to, we're going to create a print writer as a new print writer wrapped around a file writer for, oh, I guess I need to have a file. So I'm going to say file. I'm going to call it data file equals new file. The parent directory of the file is the datadir, and we're going to call it sums.txt. And then we're going to create a print writer that will write to that data file. Oh, and create a new file writer probably throws an IO exception. Yep. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I don't have my, oh, here we go. Just add exceptions to method signature, sure. I'll surround this with a try catch. And if we get an IO exception, then we'll throw toast. And oops, make toast text from this context. And we'll say while writing sums file, e.getMessage, sure. And then what is going to be the long? The toast dot long. Oh, I need to say show at the end. Let's go to this. A little more screen real estate. Okay, so I'm going to write out the stuff. What is like what try? Empty try block. Well, I understand that. Okay, so now I'm going to do. I am going to say for. Let's see here. Actually, I'm going to say this dot sums dot. Do I have a for each? Nah, I have a for each. No. Okay, so do I have a get item? Get position, get stuff out of here. I need to say, what, get item, get count, and then, oh yeah, get item, there's get item. Okay, so then, let's say the following, for int I equals 0. I'm just going to iterate over them while I is less than this dot sums dot get count I plus plus. I'm going to say int sum equals this dot sums dot get item at position I. Doesn't like the unboxing of this may produce no pointer exception. Oh, I think sums might be null. Meh, that's okay. And then I'm going to write it to the file. I'm going to say pw.println sum. Oops. Fine, I'll put it, if this dot sums equal null. I'm just trying to make that go away. Oh, they're still saying that the unboxing of this something produced null pointer exception. Oh, I see what it's saying there. Fine. You happier now? Yes. Basically what it's saying is that, hey, this can return, I guess, it can return a null value, which is fine. And then if you convert it to an int as opposed to an integer, then it'll get a null pointer exception. Okay. That's nice. Okay. So let's see here. Let's run this. It'll oops, redeploy. Oh, where's my my emulator? Oh, there it is. Okay. So it's redeploying. We'll launch our calculator. We'll have 6 plus 2 equals 8. And we'll go back here. It displayed 8. And let's see here, somewhere on here. Let's see here if I can find it quickly. I can never remember exactly. I think it's in data. And then I don't remember. Okay, so instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this over the debugger so we can figure out where the data gets written. There it is. Large calculator. It's a little slower than the debugger. 5 plus 8 equals 13. Back to main. It stopped in the debugger. Oh yeah, I don't think I've showed you the debugger yet, but oh my gosh, it works just like plain old Java application would. So now I'm going to let's see here, step over F8. So the data dir is data users 0 edupdx cs410 cs joy whitlock. Okay, sweet. So I'm just going to let this run now. So I'm going to find that first. Data user 0, and then edu. It's got so much stuff here. On Google, there it is, edu pdxjoy. Oh yeah, and here's a sums.txt. Well, let's let this run. It just overwrote whatever was there. But I can browse the file system over here in the Device Explorer, and when I double-click on the sums value, it'll fetch it from the device and show, oh yeah, it's got 13, which was the number that we have here. So this demonstrates that yes, we can we can write out a text file to the local file system, and we can do it all using the Java API that we've been using since again since Project 2. And that's what I really like about Android is that just like the way the Servlet API used a print writer, it's like don't reinvent the wheel. Just use standard Java classes, and poof, you've got the power of all those APIs. So here we are writing the sums to the file, and then what I want to do now is on create, after I create sums, I want to say read, yeah, sorry, what did I call the other one? Write sums, write sums to file. I'm going to say read sums from file, and I'm going to populate, well actually this has this sums, so I'm going to have this. And I'm going to, yes, create that. I want to move it down a little further, though. Oops. There we go. And just do it after this so I can see it. Cool. I'm going to read the sums from the file. And I'm going to take this code right here. I'm going to extract it into its own method. I'm going to say get sums file. Nice. And I'm going to rename this, not data dir. I'm going to say sums file. Inline that variable. Very nice. And now when I read the sums from the file, I'm going to do the following. Well, first I'm going to get the sums file from the sums file there. And now I'm just going to do the opposite. I'm going to say try buffered reader. BR equals new buffered reader, new file reader. Oh, no, file reader. sums file. Oops, again, this will throw an exception. And actually, I'm just going to turn it into, I know it's going to need to be an IO exception soon enough. What does it look like here? Unhandled exception, well, then add that one. There we go. And now I'm going to read each line. So I'm going to say for string line equals br.readline, line equals br.readline. Oops, while, sorry, while line not equals null. Read the next one. There might be a better way to do this, but let's go do this. And now I'm going to convert that to an int and add it to sum. So is going to be int.parseInt. And yeah, these are always going to be integers in line. And then this dot sums. So this is that array adapter again. Let's say add sum. And there's something that doesn't compile because it doesn't catch the exception, so I'll catch the exception here. And yep. And I will make that toast. Let's not copy the code from down here. And then while reading sums file. Nice. So here again, when I create the, when I initialize the object, I'm going to read in the sums from the file and populate the sums array adapter. That's what I'm using the list view. And so now, when I am, let's see here, am I still debugging? I don't want to debug anymore. Yeah, don't want to debug anymore. Instead, I want to, because I won't debug anymore until unless the thing breaks. Now I'm going to restart, redeploy the application. And it initializes itself with the number 13 because it read it from the file. The file already existed with the number 13, so let's add a new one. Let's add 7 plus 8 equals 15. Go back to main. It's got 13 to 15. Now I'm going to end the app. I'm going to relaunch it. And you'll see that 13 and 15 are there because it's persisted out to a file. So this is how you do file I/O from your Android application. It's very simple, right? You just go and call the Android API that gets you the file in the file system, and you just hold the file. Okay. I'm going to commit this. Any questions on that? Oh, looks like something came in on chat. Do you have a shovel? My brain is all over the floor. I hope that is figured. Oh, blowing. Okay, good. It's like, ooh. Yeah, this is. I hope it's blowing your mind in a good way. Yeah, right. Good. I'm glad that you are. Yeah, finding that this is pretty neat. That's the whole idea, right? I mean, they tried to make it simple. They tried to make it familiar to Java developers. Okay.
Dave, I just had a question. I mean, do you think that this is kind of like, because I know we're kind of in a transition really with Kotlin and Java. Do you think there's more Java out there than Kotlin? Is it worth learning both languages? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Kotlin is still predominantly, if not exclusively, used just for Android apps. I think you can have like services and backend stuff written in Kotlin. It's a perfectly fine language for doing so, except that unless you're already heavily invested in Kotlin on the front end, it really doesn't make any sense. So, and honestly, I'm not a professional Android developer. Right? This is what I do every day. So there's there's parts I can't speak authoritatively on terms of what to expect or like what most people do for Android development these days. I'm sure there are more there are better resources than me to take for that. Remember, I use Java. I program or I have you program Android in Java because you already know Java, right? You've been learning it for the last 9 weeks. So I think it's good to understand Kotlin. You see lots of examples out there in Kotlin, and I'm sure many, if actually probably these days, I don't know if there are too many people who would necessarily. Well, I think it would be a deliberate choice to say, hey, do we want to start a new Android project in Java or in Kotlin? Clearly, the Android folks are pushing us towards Kotlin. That's nice, but I don't want to spring a new language on you guys here at the end of the term. So that's why we're using Java.
Oh no, totally. I was just curious.
Yeah, probably to answer your question, it's good to know both, or at least be versant enough in both. If nothing else, you can read all the examples online because they seem to be doing Kotlin first for a lot of things. Nice. Okay, this is a good stopping point. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we will we'll see how we can start using like our flight objects in this. Okay, we're back. So in the first part of class, we extended our Android application. We added some new capabilities. We added the ability to send the result of the calculated sum back to the main activity, and we then persisted the values that were in the sums that were put back, so that when you delete the application or quit the application, quit the app, and bring it back up again, they are reloaded. So far, this application has been working with very simple data types, integers, right? Ints, nothing interesting here. But you're going to be working with flights. You're going to be working with airline, and so I wanted to show you how to do stuff like that. So you'll of course have your flight class and your airline class used here in the application. Sorry, maybe not of course, but you will have those things. Oops, I'm not navigate back there. So here we go. I'm going to navigate back here. And so in your in your package, in your source code, actually, is that main? Yeah, it's the main. I'm going to add, and so you'll copy in your flight class and your in your airline class and your XML dumper and anything else that you need for this. So I'm going to create new ones here. So I'm going to create a flight class. And I'd love to add that to Git. Thank you so much for asking, but never ask me again. Okay. Extends abstract flight. And it doesn't know what an abstract flight is. And I can't import it. That's because the Android project doesn't know about it. Now, when you're dealing with Maven projects, those are created from those archetypes that I created, so everything was all set up for you, because that was like the first day of class. Here, we need to go and add, we need to add the dependency on the jar, on the artifact that has the abstract flight class. And I explain how to do that here in the assignment. So in order, down here at the bottom of page 1, I'll make it a little bigger. In order to use the abstract classes, you'll need to add this line right here. Oops, that is not the right. Yeah, there it is. It's 3.00 now. You'll need to add this line to the app, the build.gradle in the app module. So you'll see a whole bunch of implementation and things like that. So then just paste that in here. And because of the PDF, you need to turn these in just plain old single quotes, not like fancy ticks or anything like that. Nice. And it says, hey, Gradle files have changed since last project sync. A project sync may be necessary for the ID to work properly. Please sync now. And so what this does is it adds dependency on the project's jar, the project's artifact. and it and now Android Studio is going to reevaluate that. So now it knows about this project dependency. Now if I go back to my flight, and oh yeah, now it is saying, oh, now it imported the class for me. So it's got abstract flight. Great. And so now I'm going to override, all of the abstract methods. And now I'm going to do, so now I've got a flight class. It's saying it's not used in any place, so let's change that. So now, just for the sake of demonstration, the application is going to get a little silly now, as if it wasn't silly enough already. I'm going to change my calculator activity to when I compute the sum, I am going to not only display it there, but I'm going to create a new flight. Actually, I'm going to put this in a variable. And I want the number of the flight to be the sum value, just so we can display it. So I'm going to create that constructor. And this is going to be flight number. It's going to be spelled right. There we go. And I'm going to say this dot flight number. Flight number. I'm going to create this field. And get number is going to return this dot flight number. Oops. Let's see, I'm going to spell it correctly. Oops. And someone asked a question in chat. Oh, yeah. Save that question for Wednesday. That'll be good. H2. There we go. Flight number. Okay, so now I've got that. And I'm just going to fill in source. And I'm going to say departure time, and destination will be destination, and then arrival string will be arrival time. I'm doing this because these methods will ultimately be invoked by a toString, and we'll see that in a second. So in our calculator activity, we create a new flight, and I'm just going to make a toast. And here, I'm just going to put in the flight.toString here. And so now I'm going to create a flight object when we create a sum. So as we're building stuff, it's compiling code. But what this is demonstrating is that yes, we can use the classes from my jar file inside our Android application. It is taking a while, probably because we added that new dependency. I've just got to analyze a bunch of stuff. Android has a whole bunch of tools that verify that when you use a Java class, it's something that will behave and actually can be supported inside of inside the Android app. If you try to do something, kind of wacky or wild, like, I don't know, launch another UI framework or something like that, it's going to complain. You can't run like a Swing application or what would be another good example of like a Java thing? Corba. Anyway, inside it, and so it does the analysis. That's probably why it's taking a little longer to build this time, even though we didn't really change much of the code. So now when I launch a calculator, we say 1 + 1 is 2. Yep, there is the toast. Oh, that was fast. We'll do it again. Yep, flight 2, depart source at departure time. Oh, I didn't make it a long toast. Well, no wonder I can't see it. But we're not gonna keep it there for much longer. So anyway, so that I hope you all saw. We created a flight object and just put it in there. And so that's kind of neat. I'll just commit this so we've got it there. So let's see here. Add dependency on the projects jar so that we get abstract classes for like abstract flight. Okay. Now, okay. So it was kind of neat to display that toast, but we can do things that are a little more interesting than that. I don't want to display the toast anymore. What I want instead is I want to put the flight into the thing that I send back to the main activity. So basically now, instead of put extra, I think there's a put extra that takes parsable. Oh yeah, it takes serializable, and I'm pretty sure that flight is serializable. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create my flight again. Oops, I'm going to say this.sum, because the field that stores the sum. And now I'm going to put in flight here, which I think I can do. Yep, it's okay. I'm going to rename this thing from some value just to flight. Cool. Now I'm going to put the flight in here. And what do you think would happen if I ran this? Let's find out. I'm just curious. Got some numbers. That's either 5 plus 6 equals 11. And then I say back to main. Ah, it's got a value of 0. That's probably because here in my onActivity result, I'm getting the int sum as the extra for flight, but with a default value of 0. Well, there is no int extra anymore. It's a serializable. So let's change that. And let's change that. Ultimately, I want this to be a flight. So this is going to be a type flight. And instead of sum, I'm going to call this flight. And then we're going to say not get int extra, but get extra serializable extra. I think that's right. Oh, and I need to tell it what class. And it's going to be a flight.class. Nice. Okay, now I need to change all this stuff. So it's not going to be sums anymore. It's going to be flights. And so now I'm just going to do this refactoring. So this is going to be an array adapter of flights. And let's see here. Where do I... Oh, I'm going to have to read sums from files. Well, let's see here. What is this going to do? This is if I read from the file, it's going to mess things up. So I'm just going to change these things. This is going to be read flights from file. Okay. And so now I'm just going to change some things. Oh, this doesn't work now because I'm not surprised. So is it going to be write flights to file? And instead of the sum, this is going to be a flight. And it's going to be a flight. And let's see here. Here, I want to persist just the number of the flights. And now, oh, what doesn't it like? May produce null pointer exception. Fine. Now here, I'm going to parse this. This won't be the sum anymore. This will be the number. And I'm going to make a new flight. Flight equals new flight of the number. And now I'm going to add the flight to that. Let's see what we got. So what I just did there is I basically turned, and instead of this thing having an array an array adapter of ints. It's now got an array adapter of flights, right? So a more complex data type. But look, we can see how we can, assuming all this works, we'll see how we can go back and forth. Oh, looks like something didn't compile. Yes, we got a semicolon. Really, AI can't just do a semicolon? Okay. It is launching. Yep, oh, cool. It populated a whole bunch of flights. So now it's getting the toString of all of those. It's creating the flight object and it's just presenting the toString in there. And now when I launch a new one, it's kind of noisy, I gotta admit. 7 plus 50 equals 57. And now I click back to main. And it's got a new flight, 57. That's kind of cool. So yeah, so I mean here, the list view can contain any type of object, and here it contains flights. And because we, write out the number, we can, we're basically the file format is the same as before. It's just a bunch of ints. But I'm sure you can all imagine how you would, use your XML dumper or your text dumper. I guess doesn't really matter to persist something like your airline. Okay. Display flights in the list view. Oh, so let's see here. What else? Actually, you know what? I think this is pretty good. You can when you click on these things, you can handle some events. I'm trying to remember what that was exactly. Let's go and figure that out. And it's in the lecture. I don't remember what the API is off the top of my head. But here, like in the list view, you can register something like is it a click listener? Oh yeah, on item click listener. So add click, no, item listener. Yeah, set on item listener. So when an item is selected in the list view, you can respond to that click by adding this on item. Yeah, on item listener. And so then let's see here. Adaptive view parent view int position. Position is probably the interesting thing. So we can do something like the following. We can say, hey, when you click on it, we can, I don't know. Just how about something easy like this? We just put up a toast that says, people are dropping my class tonight. Actually, it's not this. Well, here, I'll just do the following. I'll say toast flight at position. I'll create this method. I'll create in the main activity. And I'm going to get rid of this whole thing. And I can say replace with lambda. There we go. That makes it a little nicer. Okay, and now here we want to get the flight at that position. So we're going to say flight equals this dot sums. Oh, sorry, it's flights now. They're flights dot get item at position. If flight doesn't equal null, then we'll just make a toast. And we'll say you clicked flight, and we'll see the number of the flight. Oops. Flight dot get number. I'm going to get a long toast so we can see it. Nice. Let's see what happens here. All right, we didn't really, we sort of implicitly talked about these things, but yeah, you can set these listener objects on widgets, and then this is the code that is invoked when the widget is interacted with, like when a button is clicked or when something or text is input, things like that. Did that launch? It might have. No, it did. Yeah. You click flight 7 or flight 15. You click flight 15. So anyway, so this is just another way that you can interact. Let's see here. Respond to the user on the list view. Yeah. I think that's everything that I want to show off today. So I hope this gave you, an idea of some more pieces, parts that you can work with over the next week and a half before the project's due. I hope we get to see some more Android. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool stuff. The fact that you can leverage all of the things that you've learned about Java, not only the language but also many of the APIs and certainly the concepts like object-oriented programming and how to work with how to work with a class hierarchy, all this kind of great stuff to write Android applications. Right? This is kind of what we're doing here. Piece by piece, we're putting together a more interesting Android application. I hope it's given you a lot of ideas of how you can implement your Project 6. Yeah.
Just to verify, with the list view, it's always calling the string of an object in there, so if that would happen.
Only it is, but only that's sort of the default behavior. I'm pretty sure. I think I go into this here. I go into it in the lecture. Yeah, there is a way. I don't remember off the top of my head. And I don't know if it's you do it in the adapter or if you do something on the list view. Let's just see. And I'm sure we can. Is there some sort of like set render effect? Yeah, I don't remember. Well, actually, here's okay. Yep, let's do. Oh, I can't override toString. Can't alpha, but I can. Okay, now I'm interested. And so, let's figure out where toString is invoked. So, can I set a breakpoint here? I can. Let's debug it. Let's figure out where toString is invoked from and see if there's a way that we can then figure it out. Or I suppose I could have just looked it up in the, looked it up online, or I could ask my AI assistant to help me. But okay, here we are, flight.toString. So then, I don't 53 hidden frames. Unhide the frames. Export threads, copy stack, customize thread view. Can I just see them? It's probably maybe it's probably not called from debuggable code now that I think about it. Well, I don't know why it wouldn't be. It's interesting that it's called multiple times and stuff. So, it's a bummer that it's hiding the frames. Let's see, do I have some filter on? Oh, okay, that was dumb. Okay, create view from resource, get view. Can I look at the source code here? I can. Oh, here we go. Wait, char sequence. And sorry, this is just me debugging things. So create view from resource is private. And custom field assign. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, really? That's get item instance of card sequence. So if it's a string, so the text. Otherwise, yeah, toString. I guess what you'd have to do is have some sort of custom view. What's the view here? Convert view is this inflator thing. Okay. Hey, what's this convert view? Get view. Okay, this is the thing that. Oh, okay. So get view. Oh, okay, we can do something like this. This is on the array adapter. So on the array adapter, create view from resource, inflator position, convert view. That convert view here is null. Yeah, I bet there's a way to do this. So here, this is overridden in a number of places. So let's see if we can. Yeah, material stuff, controller. Okay, maybe that's not terribly interesting. Maybe you can override get view, which is kind of an ugly way to do it. But I'm kind of, yeah, I don't know how to use this convert view thing. So maybe that's a way to do it. Is it basically a different view object that you use to render it? Yep. Anyway. Yeah, maybe there's a way to do it. Maybe there's not. I mean, there's got to be a way to customize that. But it's probably more about the widgets that you use. And so if you want to have it be a different color or something, yeah, yeah, I'm sure there is. Exercise best left to the student. Nice. Cool. Well, that's all I got for tonight. Anything else? Well, if there's anything between now and Wednesday that you want me to talk about, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just do an Ask Me Anything, and we'll just talk. Boy, I would since one of my former students is coming to present, I would like a few more people here on Wednesday. I also understand that it's going down to campus can be a pain, so I'd appreciate it if some people could show up, but it's not mandatory. Don't worry, I don't take attendance. Cool, awesome. Have a great evening, everybody, and I will see you on Wednesday. Thanks. Oh, there were a couple questions that came in. Nice. Sweet.